And recording has started. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. Today is Tuesday, November 23rd, and we are having the pleasure of having Graham and Juan from Urban Piping joining us today on our Strategic Partner Education Moment series to talk to us about Poly B.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Juan. I'm the Director of Operations and Internal Education for Poly B here for Urban Piping. This is Graham.
I'm the CEO and founder of the company. We started our company in 2008 as a direct response to the fact that polybutylene became inadmissible in 2005 and was covered under a Supreme Court action lawsuit.
Yeah, so just wanted to go over quickly. Our intent and purpose today is to further educate homeowners, realtors, and inspectors of the issues that come up with Poly B. And a lot of, we'll be able to answer a lot of questions for you that you may have as well, as this is a topic, that is oncoming and it's ever growing in a lot of people's issues in a lot of homes. So we're here to help.
Wonderful. So I've given you guys the ability to share your screen. I'm going to switch over the view so it's just to you guys and take us away.
Perfect. So I'm sure you guys as realtors are seeing a lot more these days of customers that are concerned about polybutylene in their home, especially after home inspectors have identified that. I'm not sure if how many of you guys have lost sales so far, but I talk to a lot of realtors on a daily basis where they end up losing sales on the homes because their customers are getting cold feet over the whole issue with polybutylene piping. So one of these things that we've done is we want to put together a strategic partnership where the realtors can message us directly or use resources that we have. So we have everything in here that can answer everything for realtors. We have mapping of areas in all cities in Canada where you can zoom in and it can tell you if there's polybutylene or not in the city there. And hang on, go zoom out. That house doesn't have it. But quite interesting on how our system works. So we're here to, I don't know, what do you want to?
So back in 2008, Graham had a plumbing company that was a generic plumbing company, and we came across polybutylene, and we were kind of stumped. It was really hard to know what to do with it and how to approach it properly. And then having this issue come up, Graham took initiative to really take a lead in sorting out what it really was, how to really properly deal with it, and how to remediate situations to essentially to alleviate all the stressors for homeowners, and along the way as well with realtors and home inspectors, and educate them as well on what's really going on. From the beginning, I'll share a quick story with you guys. I remember, I think it was 2008, 2009, I was working with Graham and we came across a polybutylene piping job, and quite frankly, we were stumped. We didn't know how to approach the home right off of the beginning, so it took quite a lot of man hours to really kind of try to understand what was going on. And we ended up having to take hammers to drywall to look for piping. And this sounds incredibly scary. And it was very scary to go through this process as well. But since that time, we've taken leadership in creating new processes on how to remediate a home properly, from everywhere from home preparation to marking out holes and recording every single part of the process from point A to point B. And point Z is when everyone gets their key back and the home goes back into immaculate shape for a homeowner. And we've taken the scary factor away from this job. And we'll have customers that want updates or periodic updates throughout the job, and we try to steer away from this because it is a construction zone, and it's quite a heavy workload that we do take on. But once we show them the before and after pictures, the work is night and day. it's almost impossible to tell that we've been in some of these homes before. And that's what we want. We really want to take everything off of, you know, somebody else's shoulders and take it upon ourselves to say, we've thought of absolutely everything from here for you.
Yeah, exactly like Juan was saying, you know, a decade and a half ago, starting off and replacing the polybutylene meant cutting random holes all throughout the house, just guessing where the piping was. It was no systematic approach. There was no scientific rhyme or reason to how it was being done. It was just cut and try to find piping. Where now we have everything from blueprints to thermal imaging guns to everything under the sun that we can do. And so we're not just cutting random holes in people's houses anymore. It's all scientific approaches and processes. So from the time my team gets to a house, they prep a house completely, dent-proof flooring, plastic wrapping all the walls, all the furniture. They only cut holes that are needed, and they're cut in the exact sizes that is absolutely strategic for the drywaller to put them all back in again. That way there's zero waste in drywall or extra materials. And then we actually don't subcontract anybody else. So we're the only company that has an in-house drywall division as well. So the second my guys cut the holes, they can put everything back together again right when it's done.
Graham and Juan, before you guys dive too deep into your process, can you talk about what Poly B is and why it's so dangerous?
So polybutylene was a gray plastic piping that was invented in the early 80s.
And sorry, I'm going to stop your screen share so we can actually see you guys talk.
Absolutely.
Right, there we go. Let's have you, let's know who we're actually speaking to here.
Perfect, yeah. So polybutylene piping was a gray plastic piping that was supposed to revolutionize the plumbing industry. So Shell and DuPont did a joint venture together, a multi-billion-dollar joint venture, where they actually rushed the product too fast onto the market. So their engineers designed this plastic piping that was going to save a tenfold on labor and installation and material costs. So as opposed to old copper homes. When they used to do copper homes back in the day, it used to take a week or two, sometimes 3 weeks to solder every single joint and put all the water lines in a house. When this product came on the market, you could do a whole house in the morning. So quite a time saving and material, plastic versus a commodity like copper, which is always going up and down, just like all commodities do, really was a game changer. The problem is when you have these two giant corporations together, they know exactly where to jump through loopholes in order to push the product on the market way faster than it should have been. So there wasn't any proper testing on it. By 1991, the first class action lawsuit opened up for $191 million in Phoenix, Arizona. And the whole community actually flooded. So their piping actually goes through the attics in the deep states there. They don't have basements.
Right. And
attics were hitting 80, 90 degrees Celsius on this hot day, and almost every single piping in this brand new community was failing. Now, long story short, this was a very affluent community. That's why the opening lawsuit was so big. These houses back in 1991 were about $300,000 a piece. So that's like saying a $1.3 million house in today's market. So quite expensive houses, quite deep pocketed individuals back then. The lawsuit ended up getting up to almost $500 billion in total class action lawsuits. It was settled for just over $100 billion in total class action lawsuits. In Canada, we only had a lawsuit settled of $33 million though. So quite significantly less. We also have way less homes. And again, their lawyers completely jumped all over any of the defense up here in Canada. They just didn't have the defense like they did down in the States. So what happens with polybutylene piping is it's all a molecular structure. So the piping actually shifts, and over time it creates fissures in the piping, ending up in pinhole leaks or full-on catastrophic bursts where the pipe will just completely split apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does that happen mostly over time, or is that random?
So many different factors on polybutylene piping. So it's everything about how it was manufactured, it's what day of the week, how hot the facility was, how the piping was bonded in the facility, but it also goes to how it was transported. So polybutylene piping, and same with first generation PEX piping, have very weak resistance to UV lighting. So if it was, they're all manufactured in Texas. If they were brought up to Canada or anywhere else in the United States in an open trailer or open train container, they were exposed to UV lighting the entire time, as opposed to a closed container. And then a lot of the suppliers back then, and even today, still have outside warehouses where they stacked everything outside. So if it took plumbers, a couple of weeks to a month or two to get this product from them, it's been baking in the sun. That piping would have burst in the first 5 to 6 years. Also, things like chlorine, fluoride in the water supply will also get into the molecular bonds of that. As well as there's complete other factors, heat too. So you should always see your first leak on a hot water supply. If we can all think back to chemistry class, heat always speeds up a chemical reaction. So we should always see your first leak on a hot water supply. If it's on a cold water supply, you should probably be getting in your car and getting away from that house and turning off the water ASAP.
Right. Okay. So then now we know what it is. Now we know why it's so bad. Okay. You were talking about your process, how you guys come in, how you kind of can identify it. Before we finish there, what are some tips, tools, things agents can use when walking through a home the first time? Obviously, your website, fantastic. We'll get you to show us that more.
So we have complete embeddable software from our media page on our website. So you can take those hyperlinks and you can embed them into your own website. We also have a full marketing department here that can rebrand all of our information. Can you pass me one of these brochures as well? We also have home buyers guides to poly B piping, which is not to scare away your buyers. That is not my intent. I want to educate buyers, but still get you guys the sales. It only benefits everybody if we all work together, right? If I'm scaring away these buyers from the house, you guys aren't making the sale, you're not making a commission, you're never going to call me. So it doesn't work for that either. We want to raise awareness, but proper awareness. So we have complete tools on our website. I also have a phone number that I will give you guys that you guys can text 24/7. So if you're thinking if you're going into an 80s or 90s home, I have a couple realtors, Carrie's one of the ones that works for you guys too, that texts me on a regular basis. And she just says, hey, does this house have poly B? Can you give me a quick price? And from that text message, I can give me the address. I can look up the blueprints to the house and fire you guys back a price that says, hey, it's going to be $15,000 for a full remediation. And then you guys are walking into these houses with all this knowledge already that, you can tell your buyer, hey, this buyer really wants to buy the house. Hey, I think it's going to be about $15,000 to replace this piping. I've already talked to Urban Piping. Let's negotiate on the house. And it puts you guys back into the power seat again. So you can either quickly check our website and type in the address on that map and see if the address comes up as a poly B house, or even send us a quick text message or an email, and I can get back to you guys usually within a couple hours, usually faster than that. I just don't want to make promises if it's a busy day.
Yep.
But usually available 24/7 to get back to a text message. I can quickly pull a blueprint remotely from almost anywhere in the world, no matter where I am, and give you guys at least a price to start off with, right?
Okay.
Big thing is too, if you're walking through a house, always check the mechanical room. Go down to the mechanical room, look up into the ceiling. If you see gray piping, it's 100% poly B. Ever since that lawsuit started, no company has had the stones to make any piping gray ever again. Everyone's completely afraid of putting anything gray for plastic piping these days.
And so is that just because they don't want to be associated with poly?
Nobody wants anything close to remotely to polybutylene. It's a scary factor, right? No plumber will install anything gray. Any home inspector a lot of people just look for the color. So there's no manufacturer that will make anything gray. So if you look up and the water lines are gray, it's poly B.
And on that note as well, I'd like to mention, as well as if when you are looking around the home, always really take an in-depth look and just make sure you move some of the piping around. Because what you'll find in new and older homes like this as well that have renovations in the bathrooms is they use about 6 inches to 12 inches of the new PEX piping, which is just fine, but they tie it onto poly B piping and hide it into the walls or hide it into the subfloor. And these are big problems because you might be walking into a home with a beautiful bathroom, but not even realize that it's got poly B all over the place. So the mechanical room is definitely a place you need to, take a look for. And as well as underneath sinks and cabinets, behind toilets. And that's where you're going to find your biggest problem areas, when your poly B is actually in the walls.
But again, you guys fire us a text message. I can see if there's permits already pulled on the house, if it's already been registered as being remediated. Who did the bathroom renovations, if they pulled permits on that too. Usually I can check to see who did it, and I know a lot of the contractors, so we can see. But a lot of the times I get a phone call and they say, well, the whole house is half replaced because there's been 3 bathroom renovations. And I go, I bet you it hasn't. And you'll go there, you'll pull up the bathroom pipe underneath the sink, and you find out it only got 6 inches changed on it. And they were trying to pull a fast one on the buyers there.
Right. So with that, then if you switch out poly B, do you need to pull a permit?
Not necessarily. So it depends on the jurisdiction. Edmonton is one that you don't need to pull a permit. Calgary is they're trying to make it like the bylaws are trying to make it so you have to. But technically, according to the National Plumbing Code, if it's an apples to apples swap, you don't need to pull a permit. So just like changing a hot water tank or your carburetor or a kitchen faucet or a toilet, it all falls into, as long as you're changing like with like and you're not adding or subtracting anything, you don't need to have a permit. Now, we have started a registry bank right now, and it's going to go live here anytime. We've done a partnership with poly-b.com. Terry Testwell, the owner of that website there, has been working on a system with us so that we can do registering for all these homeowners. And we're going to actually do probably a massive $2 million campaign across Canada to try to really get everybody that has had it done to submit their invoices and get it registered, so that then my mapping system will be 100% complete and will go green instead of red whenever there's a house that's been remediated.
Right. Can you guys type in into the chat the web address that you guys are referring to? So for right now, so if someone comes in, they send you an address, you're going off. How, if the person did it then didn't get a permit pulled,
yeah,
but the homeowner is saying that it was done, how would someone then go about knowing for sure that it was completed?
You'd have to bring in a professional, like someone like myself, Juan, or somebody at the company, to actually go in there and verify everything. So sometimes it's really hard without opening walls to 100% confirm that everything has been replaced. There are a couple telltale signs that we can check. There's the thermal imaging guns will show different colors with PEX piping versus polybutylene, as polybutylene has a lower heat rating than what PEX piping does for the insulation factor. So there's a couple ways, but we have cameras like snake cameras that can go through walls too, and we can check that way. But realistically, most homeowners should have been getting something written down by a journeyman plumber and signed saying this house has been remediated. This is why we've been working with the insurance companies to get them to require a certificate of remediation. And so we've got companies like Allstate and Intact Insurance and cooperators now that are all jumping on board with us and working with us. Now, we're the only company that issues a certificate of poly B remediation at this point. I'm trying to get the other guys to join in on something like this too, so that it's a full documentation stating what you've replaced it with, the type of piping you've done, the type of fittings, the warranty, and have it signed by somebody that's authorized to sign that.
Okay. So, sorry, now we'll jump back to what your process is. I've given you guys the ability to share the screen again. So if you guys want to show where those resources are, show how to actually use the website.
Okay, hang on, we will go. All right, can you guys see the screen there?
Nope.
Okay, hang on.
Go to share.
Okay.
Click on this.
Perfect. Now we're good, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is one of the resources that we have. It's called a Home Buyer's Guide to Polybutylene Piping, Poly B Piping. And It's basically just an informational resource. It's not meant to solicit or sell or advertise for us at any means. It's basically just something that you can give to clients so they know the facts. So it tells what Poly B is, the problems with Poly B, and all the different kinds of water line systems that may be in a house. So you can identify copper, polybutylene, Kitech piping, PEX piping. And then we do the replacement process. So this is something that we would do. So first of all, we prep the house. So we make sure we have dent-proof flooring over top of all hard surfaces. So tile, laminate, hardwood. And this is able to take an impact of a hammer of up to 6 feet high, falling off a ladder without denting the hardwood, which is very important when you're working in customers' houses. We also put carpet wrap over top of all the carpeted surfaces. We can put bubble wrap over top of banisters. All our furniture is plastic wrapped. We also have 4-stage HEPA filters on site. So when we cut the holes, it mitigates all the dust and extra debris that we have going on there. Secondly, we replace all the piping. So like in this situation, we cut the wall open, cut the ceiling open, and we take out all the polybutylene and replace it with Class A PEX piping. And then whether it's us or anybody else, will restore the home back to the original condition there. So that's the process that we do when we're replacing the home. We also have in this guide, should I buy a house? Well, of course you should buy a house with Poly B. They're in great neighborhoods, great walk scores, lots of schools. They're older neighborhoods, 80s and 90s houses. So this is what everyone's looking for these days. And then we also have costs on here too. So the customer will know this is a vague cost, but at least they know where they might sit on there. And then we also have contact information in case we want more there information. All right. Perfect. So hopefully that helps you guys out there. I'm going to share my link right here.
Perfect.
So the press page is for the realtors and home inspectors, for everybody in your industry. So it's basically catered to just you guys. So it will have videos on there, all the videos about polybutylene piping. Any question you have, I think that we've got 40 or 50 YouTube videos on there talking just about polybutylene on there as well. And that's where the map is. That's where the home buyer's guide is. You can download everything from the site right there. I also have a complete guide to polybutylene, which talks about everything from the history of Poly B, why it leaks, all the different kinds of PEX piping that you can replace it with. And this is a whole document that we have. It's basically like an ebook. So if any of you guys are interested in this, I can have it completely rebranded to you guys. So I could say Alex Ward, MaxWell Realty, and I can have my marketing team go through it all, rebrand it so it looks like it's your information. So if you want to have something like that on hand that you want to keep laminated or in your truck, so in case somebody wants to read it, or we can even make it an ebook for you too, so you can send to your customers as well.
Are you able to brand that and just send it to me as a PDF?
100%. I can. You want me to brand it with all your logos and everything?
Yeah, just with the MaxWell logo and just kind of have the generic name, and then I'll upload it to our internal document
100%
for people to download.
That's good, Corey. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Corey has given me green light on that. I don't know how to do anything computers. I am completely just a mechanical engineering kind of guy, hands-on kind of guy.
Well, you shared a screen and typed in, so you're ahead of a lot of people. So there you go.
Technically, Juan did that. So
I'm giving you no props, Juan, but
no, I just show up. No,
So-
I'm a strict pony. At this point in my life, all I do is polybutylene. All I know is polybutylene. This is all we do every single day. So we've got offices in Calgary, Edmonton, Kelowna, Vancouver, just doing Poly B piping day in, day out.
So then we've kind of talked about what it is, ways of identifying it, what the process is. What if a homeowner doesn't want to get it done right away? What are some signs that they need to take a look at, like risk?
So we were talking about the lawsuits, and this is where I now become valuable to you guys as a key player to keep in your back pocket. So ever since 2005, the Supreme Court of Canada deemed polybutylene inadmissible for indemnity. So indemnity is the process to put you back into the place you were before an accident. So this is what every single insurance company acts on. So you can go into your insurance office right now and say the word indemnity, and they'll all look at you like, how do you know this word? This is exactly how they base their entire operations. Now, by being inadmissible for indemnity, no insurance company since 2005 has had to cover anybody for any damages caused by polybutylene. Now, for the last 15 years, almost every single company has covered you. If you had a leak, they would cover you. But with everything else that's going on in the world, we've got all the flooding, the hail damage, the fires like going on like crazy. Fort Max twice now. They're losing money. They're not making greasy margins of 84% anymore. They're down to the 20% margins, which isn't good enough for them. It's great for me, but it's not good enough for the insurance company anymore. I've also had the insurance company, I'm going to be completely upfront. They are in the process of one of the biggest insurance companies of buying all my data now. So I have a list of every single house that has polybutylene in it. And they want to buy all this data in the lower mainland right now. I've given away some of this data already, and they ended up blacklisting all the clients with polybutylene. And now if you have it, they set deductibles at about $100,000 out here.
Right, so that's out in the lower mainland.
That's on the lower mainland. Now in Alberta, we have Allstate that won't insure anymore, Intact Insurance that won't insure, Cooperators, ING Direct, Royal Bank. We've got State Farm. Almost all the insurance companies will not insure a new buyer if you have polybutylene. If you're an already existing client, they will probably keep you on because your number is still good. They've made money off you. But once your number doesn't become viable to them anymore, where you're costing them, you're a liability, is where they'll either get rid of you, drop you, or raise your deductible to an unheard of rate. TD Melange Monix will give you the first one accident forgiveness right now. So they'll waive the first accident. But, I don't know about you guys. I would rather use my accident forgiveness on a hail damage or something and get new siding on my house or a new roof rather than get them to fix poly-B in my house. So after your first incident, they'll raise your deductible up to $20,000 with TD Melange Monix right now.
Okay.
And then AMA starts out, I think, at $7,500, and Wawanese is about $7,500 deductible with poly-B. So the big thing is, you guys will sell a home, and it might not come up, or they might not want to pay this money up front. Now, if you sell a house and they don't move in for 45 days or take possession, they can't get an insurance quote unless it's under 30 days from possession. Then they find out they've waived all their conditions because it's been 15 days. Then they find out nobody wants to insure them. So right now I'm getting a lot of panic, especially over this whole summer because we've had record sales for real estate in Alberta. I get lots of, they're 30 days to taking possession. They're freaking out. They go, we waived all our conditions and nobody wants to insure us. And I'm going, okay, well, I'm booked for 2-3 months. So right now we've negotiated a lot with the insurance companies that 90 days upon possession to get the poly-B replaced if they have a signed contract, and they'll still give you guys the homeowner's insurance. But it's I'd rather have it nipped in the bud ahead of time and have you guys let the clients know that you might have a really hard time getting insurance.
Right. So then, because talking about how some people don't have the money up front to pay cash, is there some sort of financing program through Urban Piping?
Yeah, so we do have a financing program through Finance It, and it's actually going to be uploaded onto our website where you can just apply online.
Okay.
Is it the best option? I don't know. I'm a business guy. I always follow the money. It's not the greatest option, especially if you have the leverage with your credit right now. This counts as a mortgage plus improvements to your house. Like you can add it onto your mortgage, and we're doing this through lenders every single day. So if you could mortgage this at 2% or whatever the interest rates, it's way better than paying my third party company that pays me. I think by all said and done, it ends up working to a 20%. It's not the greatest option, but it was something because we don't have the facility in-house to finance. We're over leveraged because we're doing so many jobs at a time. We don't take any deposits on the job, so we're always fronting a huge balloon. So to take on these jobs and front them over even longer at a reasonable interest rate just doesn't make financial sense for us. So we use a company called Finance It, but the way I broke the numbers, it works out to be about a 20% interest over 5 years. And it's just, I don't see why anybody would do that when hopefully I've talked to a lot of mortgage brokers to squeeze an extra $15,000 on an improvement to the house usually can be done, especially worst case scenario, you might have to get another appraiser, like an appraiser in there to say, will this add value to my house? If they're completely leveraged to the max, right?
Okay, so it does fall underneath, you do have one, but it does fall underneath home plus improvements or purchase
It
plus
100%
improvement
does, yeah.
on the mortgage standpoint.
Yeah. So usually when it's done, the mortgage company will send out an inspector. The inspector comes within 3 weeks to inspect the house. Once he gives the green light, they release the funds from the lawyer and everything's good to go.
Yep. So how long are you currently booking out jobs?
So we've added a bunch more crews. They're almost completely done their training process. So we don't release anybody into the wild until they know that they're going to give the 5-star experience that everyone's used to dealing with us. So right now I'm booking out. I've got a couple spots left for December for Edmonton and for Calgary, but mostly we're booking for January, February right now.
So you're about 2 months out, typically.
Usually, now, like if there's something, like if you guys call and listen, Graham, I've got a client here. This is a make it or break it for my sale. You know, level with me. You know, I'll see what we can do to fit you guys in the scheduling. My realtors are our bread and butter. Like our realtors and our home inspectors are the guys that we want to work with every single day. We deal with homeowners directly quite a bit, but heck, let's just put it this way. You guys are in how many houses every single day? You know, if you're feeding us 5-6 jobs a year, each of you, then, you know, if you tell me, hey, Graham, I need this in here, it's going to make the deal. Can you get it done before Christmas? If I have to fly back to Calgary or Edmonton right now and go do the job myself, I'll go do that right now.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We're about hitting on just over the half-hour mark, so usually when we finish up, is there anything else that you guys really want to deliver as a message to everyone?
Hang on. So Lori asks, in your opinion, should every house with poly be replaced? Absolutely. Eventually it will leak. There's 100% guarantee it will leak. So they all have to be replaced eventually.
Yeah, it's just when, not if.
It's always, it's not an if, it's a when. Like I said, I seen houses 20 years ago that had already been replaced because they leaked within the first 5 years. But I've also seen, there's not very many, but there's a couple 1985 houses still kicking around at 34 years old that haven't had their pipes leak on them yet. But, you know, usually those are isolated. Like if you're on a well and you're out in, let's say you're out in Stony Plain and you're on a well system, really low water pressure, 40 PSI, yeah, you could probably dog it out to about 40 years. And I don't know anything beyond that. If we all want to pool our money together, I'll make another donation to the U of A and we can use their microscope to see on a molecular level how far the deterioration is on those houses. And then I can tell you exactly when they're going to leak. Right. But that there's no 100% way of saying the exact date of when the pipe's going to leak. All I can say is it is 100% guaranteed to fail.
Right. Are there any signs, like indications that it's about to leak, or does it just go from working, water?
The thing is, it's all, like I said, it's all on a molecular level. So there's nothing visually you can see with your eyes.
Right.
The biggest concern for me right now is, and for you guys, is I wouldn't be worried about the piping leaking. And I wouldn't be worried about your customers having these big floods in their house. My biggest concern is once this data, once everybody gets a hold of this data, and they're already doing it anyways, with only a couple companies still insuring it, it's only a matter of time before they blacklisted the product completely across the board. And then they're just going to be putting up massive deductibles. So it would really suck for a brand new home buyer to buy this house, not get the poly B replaced, thinking everything's going to be okay. And 2 years later, they get a phone call. Hey, your insurance is canceled on January 1st upon renewal because you still have poly B. Or we're going to keep it, but you have a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deductible.
Right.
Now, on the mainland here, maybe a $40,000 deductible on a $4 million house isn't that crazy. I don't know. I don't have $4 million. But out in, let's say St. Albert, where a nice house is $400,000, $420,000, $40,000 deductible is 10% of the house's value.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense to hold a deductible like that.
Right.
So that would be my biggest concern, is not whether it's going to fail, is whether your clients are actually going to be able to get insurance.
No, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Anything else before if you want to put, if the people buy the house, but you are busy or they don't want it fixed right away. There's no leaks in it. Well,
So
the question is poorly written. The question is, if the people buy the house, but you are busy or they don't want it to fix it right away, do you go in and give the pipe the once over to make sure there is no leaks in it? But we just talked about how there was no way of knowing if it was about to leak.
So
Molecular structure.
definitely, if we're busy, that's why I've been negotiating with most insurance companies to give us 90 days upon possession, because I understand that, and everyone's got to understand that there's no possible way that we can do every house tomorrow, the next day, next week. There's just not enough manpower, unless you guys can go find me 100 more trades guys, and then I can definitely go do it. So 3 months, 90 days upon possession gives us time that we can put you into the schedule. Your clients still get home insurance. I definitely know about the question that's being asked here, is a lot of insurance companies were requiring for a while to have a plumber come in there and give the piping a once over and sign off on the piping. The problem with that is that you've now assumed liability on that piping by signing and saying, I, Graham Drew, say that this piping's in good condition. Because if it leaks the next day, they're going to come back at me and say, well, you said it was in good condition. And there's just no visual way to find out if the piping's perfect or not. Last time I did send some piping off to the U of A 4 years ago, and I got them to look at the piping for me. And I found a roll of polybutylene, brand new, inside a wall, in a basement, in a dark spot. All the serial numbers matched to the piping that was installed. And the house was 22 years old and had an 80% deterioration rate through the piping. So that kind of put it at a life expectancy of that neighborhood had about 4 to 5 years before I expected every house in that neighborhood to start having leaks. And at this point, we're doing at least a couple houses a month in that neighborhood.
Right.
So it kind of worked exactly how I expected it was going to work.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm more than happy to take a couple before we.
Can you type in your phone number and the email address that you would like people to send, and that phone number to text?
So this is my personal cell phone. So I don't mind if you guys text me any time of the day, but maybe don't give it to your clients.
Okay. And then the one that can be given to client, or phone number to give to the clients.
Can you pull up my Edmonton number? 587. Should be right there.
870-6676.
That's it. Sorry, Corey went and changed all my phone numbers on me for call tracking. What's the real phone number for Edmonton? We have a full marketing going through our software and page evaluation. So everything on our site and every phone number for our office, every online resource has now been changed so that it can track where everything's going through right now.
Fun.
I love data. Data's key.
All right. So while they're grabbing that, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone on Facebook, and I'm going to stop recording.
Perfect.